Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here we go. We bring you this special radio broadcast.
It's starting.
I'm sure a lot of people think this is just some radio shtick.
Let's talk to these people.
Let's talk about culture.
It's a primitive culture.
Let's talk about what's best in life.
What is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of your women.
Talk about crushing your enemies.
This time, it's for real.
Let's talk party politics. But don't expect the same old kind of talk radio show.
But a new wind was about to blow.
On this show, you get the high-flying conservative columnist from National Review Online, Jim Garrity, and the wit and wisdom and experience of broadcast veteran Mickey White. So let's get to it. This is the Jim and Mickey Show.
Welcome to the Jim and Mickey Show, brought to you by Satrali's Pork Store, the premier meat market in Kearney, New Jersey. Your source for a variety of meats, pork, and sausage, along with deli-style sandwiches for the holidays. Don't forget our coffee bar, which sells pastries and espresso. Also, you can't miss us from our large storefront windows with cured hams, trussed pig carcasses, coils of sausages, and our denuded chicken with the beak still in place. For all your holiday needs, as they say down in New Jersey. I am Jim Garrity, former New Jersey resident, joined by Mickey White, former resident of the state right next to New Jersey.
Yes.
And welcome to the Hanukkah and Christmas edition of the Jim and Mickey Show.
Happy Hanukkah to everyone who is celebrating Hanukkah this week. And it really is kind of interesting to me because Hanukkah sometimes does not get as much recognition. Obviously, I realized this yesterday when I was searching for a menorah. Long story short, my mom always had a blue menorah in our front window, even though I was raised in a Methodist home. And there was a part of me that believed it was because it was blue and her entire decorative theme was blue. But there was a part of me that recognized that she also put it in the front window. Now, of course, for those of you who know most of my story, you know that my mom's not around to even ask her why she did this. But yesterday I decided, maybe I'll find a little blue menorah, kind of in honor of my mom. They're not as easy to find as, say, like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, interesting. I've been out with Jewish friends who have pointed out that they'll often have a giant Christmas display and then kind of shunt it in the corner. Here's our couple of token Hanukkah items and stuff like that. And I on the one hand, I feel sympathy for our Jewish brothers and sisters. I also will acknowledge. I think we should point out that in the Jewish calendar, the really big ones are Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Passover. Hanukkah is kind of like a mid-level holiday in the Jewish calendar, and it kind of just gets elevated because of its proximity to Christmas. Like there's this expectation that, got to exchange the gifts, and some of the best humor around these holidays comes from the attempt to mimic Christmas traditions, including the classic Saturday Night Live sketch about Hanukkah Harry. And
absolutely.
I have been tempted to tell the kids, if you don't behave well, Hanukkah Harry is going to come down the chimney, and
And how'd that go?
Santa is our preeminent one. We can also get to the, in addition to having, of course, you're familiar with the elf on the shelf phenomenon, right, Mickey?
Yes, I am. In fact, it kind of freaks me out a little just because I find him to be creepy. However, I must say I am enjoying what the parents do with the elf on the shelf
yes.
when the kids are clearly not around. And the pictures that have popped up on my timeline, on Twitter, on Tumblr, and even on Facebook crack me up. Yeah. Do you have an elf on the shelf spying on your children?
We do not. And by the way, the Jewish equivalent, I am told, is the mensch on the bench. They honest to goodness sell a little man who will sit on a bench and watch your kids. There's some professor who says that this is conditioning kids to accept the surveillance state, that somehow this is, it makes kids more amenable to the existence of the NSA surfing in their
I don't know.
In their emails
I feel like
stuff.
These kids really don't care. They're the ones that are always taking selfies of themselves everywhere.
That's a good point.
Telling everywhere where they are all the time, tagging themselves. I mean, really, it's not hard to surveil these ones.
Yeah, I do think
Hi,
it's very...
this is where I'm at. Here's who I'm hanging out with.
I do think this kind of indicates like the what parents do to the elf on the shelf and how the elf on the shelf is always doing terrible things. Making out with
bad
Barbie,
elf on the shelf.
getting into the cookie jar and stuff like that. I think we've now decided that the elf on the shelf, look, he's a narc. Okay, he's gonna rat you out. He is making sure.
Is this a snitches get stitches kind of situation?
There is, and it's very interesting that for kids, we want them to be on your best behavior. Like Santa's watching used to be enough. I remember it was actually not actually one of my boys, but one of our friends' children. They said, "Look, you got to be good. Santa's watching." And this is like the kid's probably about 2-3 years old, and he ran to the window.
To see if he was watching.
Yes,
Aww. That's so cute. My parents started using Santa is watching, I think, in like July.
See, that's good. I'd figure it was only good for about a month or so.
Oh, no, not in our house. Yeah. And I remember there even being a time period when he could take them back.
Like
early January.
Oh, that's good. I might have to borrow. Santa thought you'd been behaving, so he's,
we'll just take them back. You'll wake up one morning and they'll be gone just like they appeared.
It's interesting. I was talking to a mother of an interfaith couple, and she had observed that even though she was Christian, she really began to appreciate Hanukkah a lot more, because her observation was, look, when you get the kid a fantastic gift for Hanukkah, Mom, Dad, it's the best. Thank you so much. You get the big hug. On Christmas, they come downstairs, they open up the present. Santa Claus is the best. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Santa Claus is the best. And here's the socks we got you,
Right.
I realize after last week, I've become the vehemently anti-Santa.
Well, you did kind of call him like a fascist Nazi or something like that. I can't remember the exact term.
He was rather dictatorial and Nazi-esque in his management of Christmastown, at least in the Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer.
And we can talk more about Christmas in a second, but I do want to come back to the menorah thing, because one of the big points, if you're not familiar with Hanukkah, is that it's an 8-night ceremony. There's lighting of the candles for the oils. It's very representative of how the Lord will provide. But as a child, my best friend was Jewish. And what I knew about Hanukkah was that she got presents 8 nights in a row. And I only had one day to get all the presents. And so I thought being Jewish was the coolest thing ever.
Now, do you eventually find out what, like on some nights you're getting underwear and not so great gifts? She
didn't have that problem.
She got 8 nights of good gifts?
8 nights, good gifts, yeah.
Because the Jewish parents I know that like the first night is a big deal, the last night is a big deal, and in between you're getting what we would consider to be.
She was a set of. Let's just put it this way.
There's the cultural stereotype that we're talking around, I think, like you're suggesting. Yeah.
Well, there is, but it also actually has a lot to do with her lineage and the fact that her parents were both just like one set of, on each side and one set on each side, so a very, very small family.
Okay. Yeah.
And her grandfather was actually a survivor of the Holocaust. And so they lavished those 4 grandchildren with a great deal of gifts and love. And the parents, I don't even know how much they actually had to participate, if I'm being honest.
Understandable. I see this with my boys. Right now they lack any cousins, and I keep nagging my brother to get on that.
Yes.
But boy, all this generosity, I don't remember this when I was a kid. All of a sudden, Mom and Dad are coming down with, there's an extra round of presents, and these are some gag gifts, and
Yes, yes. And look, I just had to pick this up for you.
Yeah. Which is, I suppose, the spirit of the season.
That's the whole point, isn't it? I mean, really, regardless of whether you're celebrating Hanukkah or whether we celebrate Christmas, we're going to talk about, in later segments, the whole point of this season, and I call the season actually from like Thanksgiving on.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's when it really starts.
Santa comes down for the Macy's Day Parade, and that launches.
And there you
Christmas
go.
season.
Boom, bammo, it's on. And, let's face it, they're already selling now stuff before Thanksgiving for Christmas. But the reality is it's nice to see families get together over the holidays. Even small families, or in my case, I always get together with my family of friends that I've kind of created here. And we have an open house and invite people over. And for anyone who doesn't have the time to spend, that's something that I think all of these holidays have in common. And I think it's really important that if someone says happy holidays to you, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that. If I say Merry Christmas, that should be okay too. And if someone says Happy Hanukkah to me, I'll be thrilled and I would say Happy Hanukkah back.
Yeah, I'm kind of struck by the amount of whining. I do think that there is long before there was actually a war on Christmas, and this turned into the staple of Fox News Channel's December programming. The idea that there was this tend to genericize Christmas, and it went along well with this effort to drive mangers out of public squares, and the idea that somehow seeing baby Jesus was going to melt your brains and turn you into a Christian or something like that. I know very few people who really get that upset about it. But I do think, I'd like to make a kind of a related point. A friend of the program, Bethany Mandel, who writes over at Commentary, is Jewish and very proudly Jewish, and kind of goes bonkers every year when she sees the Hanukkah gingerbread house. And she kind of, she kind of laughs about this.
Does she see it as like the sellout?
I think she observes, like, wait a minute, we have our own traditions. We don't need to borrow other people's. We don't need to glom onto other people's. And look, I mean, gingerbread houses are traditionally a
But
Christmas.
I mean, I guess maybe, and again, it could be, obviously everyone is different about their religion and how they feel about it. And it is at the heart a religious ceremony for both. But there are a lot of non-seculars that celebrate Christmas. Or secularists, that celebrate Christmas, and they do so based on the whole Santa Claus thing. And so, but at the heart of these are both religious holidays and very important ones, more so to Christians probably than to the Jews in the community. But I also think it's important to understand that there's some good about the blending of the tradition. And honestly, I think it's funny. One of my favorite stories, and I have to get this in, is that I had a friend on Twitter last night tell me when I was talking about Hanukkah that he had decorated his house in Dallas Cowboys colors that year, or a year, and he was super excited to have it up, and suddenly, apparently, everyone in the neighborhood thought he was Jewish. Because, as you know, the Cowboys are blue and white and silver.
Interesting. I'm noticing information always strikes. We have about a minute left in the program. I guess my only observation would be that, on the one hand, it's a free country. Celebrate how you like. On the other hand, I do think that having Hanukkah gingerbread houses or a Hanukkah tree is about as silly as saying, well, I made latkes, but they're Christian latkes.
Well, there's that.
Little bits of pork flecked in them or something.
And again, I do think it is a generational thing to some degree. And again, to the level of your faith. But I have a lot of interfaith friends that have Chrismukkah. And so for those of you celebrating Chrismukkah, happy Chrismukkah, Merry Chrismukkah, and happy Festivus to those of you who have grievances to air as well. We're going to come back on the other side with a very dear friend of the show and someone who we consider to be a booze connoisseur. I'm Mickey White. He's Jim Garrity. Stay with us. We'll be right back with your holiday spirit.
Happy Festivus, Georgie.
A Festivus for the rest of us. And now, as Festivus rolls on, we come to the feats of strength.
Another Festivus miracle.
Until you pin me, George, Festivus is not over.
Oh, please, someone stop this.
Let's rumble!
Well, happy Festivus. Happy Festivus.
Happy Festivus.
Hey, happy Festivus, everyone.
I had no choice the news that was given to me on August 2nd.
Gold Star mom, Debbie Lee.
But I did have a choice how I responded.
In August 2006, Mark Allen Lee became the first Navy SEAL to lose his life in Iraq.
I chose to put on Mark's boots, pick up his weapon, and stay in the fight for our troops and their families.
And America's Mighty Warriors was born.
Mark's name meant Mighty Warrior, and he definitely lived up to his name.
At americasmightywarriors.org, you'll find Mark's last letter home. Read it, and you'll know what AMW's about. It's about service to active duty members of the military and their family, including care packages, visits, and more. It's about supporting the wounded and the people who love them. It's about the Gold Star family, special retreats, concerts, Mother's and Father's Day events to let them know they're loved and not forgotten. Donations are tax deductible and go directly where they're needed.
Read Mark's last letter home home.
And just as he inspired his mom, let Mark inspire you to some random acts of kindness of your own.
At americasmightywarriors.org.
Run for your lives, everyone!